When it comes to sad episodes, you have to think of yourself, does this make you cry? Or will tears even affect you? Or does it even make the story even good or not? With creators and storyboards have permission to tackle on these topics for the network to even approve them, can be into a whole new level. There is going to be an episode where you actually will remember from your heart forever, even if it means a very bad episode, a good episode, heartbroken, saddest episodes, darkest elements, and even more. Well, this is where we're at today. So today, we're gonna be going over 6 unexpected saddest episodes and kids shows, for the better or the worse. Let us begin. A parental bond of Rabbit and Casey. When it comes to the new adventures of Winnie the Pooh, it is a heartwarming show, but things got a bit too real. In the first season episode titled Find Her, Keep Her, the episode starts with Pooh and the others trying to salvage a carrot in Rabbit's snow-covered garden. When all of a sudden, the gang hears a help, and it turns out to be a baby bluebird after the rescue. Rabbit decides to adopt her, named Casey.
Are you all right, Rabbit?
No, and I don't plan on being all right for a very long time to come.
A few days later, Rabbit was feeling extremely stressed and decides to give it to Pooh and Piglet while he was gardening. While Pooh and Piglet gave her a bath, Casey accidentally put too much soap in it, causing her to float away. She was rescued by Rabbit, then the two do gardening and Tigger bounces on Rabbit a bit too hard, and where he encounters a dead tree. Casey was trapped in it and she was rescued and told that she couldn't fly ever again. Casey then escapes and flies, and it lands on Pooh after a failed fly attempt. Then the gang decides to make a big slingshot that it didn't even last even 30 seconds for Rabbit to come out and take her away because of an attention of flying. The next morning came, Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Owl taught Casey one last lesson of flying, and Rabbit was searching the carrot that Casey has planted in his garden. While the gang says their goodbyes the next morning, Rabbit quickly runs out to say his goodbye with the carrot, but he was too late. Or as he was Casey, decides to fly back and says goodbye to him, causing him to cry of joy. The episode ends with a shot of Rabbit staring at the sky, waiting for Casey to return in spring. While the episode ends in a good note, it's based on taking care of an animal that is injured and expected to be free until its environment. I mean, Rabbit keeping her as a pet or friend forever is just as sad as hell, to be honest. Tom nearly commits suicide. Despite that Tom and Jerry is a comedian cartoon, things could be taken a bit too dark, aggressive, or even too far. With the episode titled Blue Cat Blues, it's just that. The story starts with Tom sitting on a train of railroad tracks, waiting for death. While Jerry remembers in a flashback beginning, this is where it actually happened. Tom falls in love with a white cat, and he loves her, and she falls for him too. After Tom giving her her first gift, it was apparently turns out that she's actually the definition of a fucking gold digger. Tom keeps giving her gift after gift, attempting to win her heart, but he was beaten to the punch with a much bigger thing every single time. While Tom gives her a card, Budge comes out by riding a limbo saying, "Just marry." And it's back to where it started. Jerry thinks it's for the best, and Jerry's girlfriend is extremely loyal to him. After Jerry sees a hotshot Bounce getting married to him, Jerry joins Tom in saying the railroad tracks, waiting for suicide. While the episode is more sad but a total fuck up levels, it's showing depression and heartbroken to someone who is the definition of a gold digger and finding someone who is actually true love with. I'm sure if Tom and Jerry even hits by cannibals, gunshots, or even a western movie, I'm sure that they can survive by an easily little train. Mrs. Who Wants' depressing backstory. Hey Arnold was a dark show, but isn't afraid to tackle on serious elements. That makes it really depressing. Can't the special be happy, joy, or even happy on who we get, or even a true meaning of Christmas? Of course not. The special gotta be extremely dark. In the special episode titled Arnold's Christmas, the plot begins when a selected people got into the boarding house and draws a name for the Secret Santa. Arnold draws Mr. Huyance's name from the Secret Santa draw. While exciting in the story, Gerald suggests Arnold to give him a tie for Christmas, but Arnold refuses as if it's not special enough. So Gerald's second idea is to ask him what he actually wants, so he agrees that, and Arnold asks him on which gift to exactly get him. That's right, he wants to reunite with his daughter named Mal. Despite this, a backstory begins, where he had to give her up to give her a successful life. So Arnold and Gerald decides to get her for his Christmas. They eventually get to Mr. Bailey and asks him to do his Christmas shopping for him, but nearly was complete by missing a pair of snow boots. Without the critical item from the list, it fails and Arnold and Gerald eventually gives up. So Helga decides to give her own boots to Mr. Bailey to help Arnold out. The two go back into the building and look for the missing woman. On Christmas Day, Arnold is sad because he couldn't get Mal and her father back together. Then the doorbell rings and Mal was there and was reunited. Arnold sees this as a Christmas miracle and dismisses, but actually Helga was the one who sneaks outside saying, "Merry Christmas, Arnold." Wow. Just wow. This is a whole new level of sadness. Like really. I mean, wishing a discarded boots can be worth for a family member to be together, or even be happy who you're with. I mean, we don't get to see a lot of Mrs. Huyance's story other than Mrs. Huyance's exclusive song that actually appeared in the show. But it could be more of a traditional levels of animations. Greninjas Farewell. Pokemon isn't afraid to tackle on releasing Pokemon to the wild, like Butterfree and Pidgeot, or even tried to release Pikachu at one point. But there was an episode that the release of a certain Pokemon was a bit too realistic for the series. In the episode titled Facing the Needs of Many, the episode starts that Gudra being released by Ash, but reminds that they will see each other in the forest, where Gudra was happy. Serena mentions that the airport is reopened, so Ash stated that he will return home when the deed is done, seeing this as Ash's final adventures. Zero catches Clement, and Ash and Greninja follows the van. They defeat him, being arrested by Officer Jenny, Boniac Zyger, and they know what happened to Squishy. Suddenly, a plane attacks her, but Squishy transforms in time to save her. Then, Zyger tells Ash that Kalos needs Greninja to save Kalos from the negative energy that Team Flares put out. Ash does listen, hugs Greninja to say its final goodbye.
Oh, Greninja.
Then, Squishy promises Bonnie to become her trainer when she is older. The episode ends when Greninja goes with Squishy and his friend to prevent the destruction of the Kalos region. This is just so sad, the most soul-crushing episode of the entire list. I mean, Ash releases two Pokemon in the same episode. It isn't how you think the episode would have turned out. I mean, Greninja, one of Ash's strongest Pokemon, being known as a Froakie in the first episode of Pokemon XY, the series, that actually releases back in 2014, I believe, and trains it for so long. From the first episode all the way to the finale of XY, Z, it's something that it would never known to happen. Nora gets his revenge on a whole new level. The Fairy Odd Parents, which is a show that has stories, tells that Timmy has enemies, such as Timmy disliking Vicky, the babysitter, and Denzel Cracker for stealing his fairies. But they added a minor villain named Nor and decide to get fucking too real. In the 5th season episode titled The Fairy Idol, the episode starts where Nor finds the rules, stated that if a godparent quits, the position is open to any magical creatures. So, Nor decides to trick Cosmo Wanda, making a fake Timmy clone and an unappreciative clone version. Timmy then hurries up back and finds the clone and says, "What have you done?" Jorgen comes up here and tries to erase his memories, but it was caught the clone instead. So Timmy hears that the Fairy Idol is taking place and the winner will get to replace Cosmo Wanda, and Nor preps up a nasty plan. Mr. Crocker has finished making the portal to Fairy World. Before he could, Timmy knocks him out with sleeping gas and steals his fairy hunting tools with him and uses the portal to take him to Fairy World. Timmy tries to enter the backstage but was quickly kicked out, giving him a chance to sneak in. But it didn't take that long until the guard inside of it caught him and froze him in a cage. Timmy realizing if Jorgen finds him here, then Timmy would not get the chance to say sorry to Cosmo and Wanda. He manages to escape and pretend to be Denzel Crocker, so nobody will spot him as his original person. Then, when Fairy Idol was complete, Cosmo and Wanda won the contest, and Nor creates a distraction for Jorgen. And this is where the part that actually gone too real.
Looks like you're gonna need a first runner-up!
Cosmo and Wanda ended up in the hospital, and Timmy tries everything, and crying included, and it works. They revived them and forgave him, but they still quit for him, so he asks to walk with him home on a long, lonely rainbow bridge. Chester then uses his second wish to do so to get Timmy to be happy, so Nor gets to become Timmy's fairy godparents. Nor actually double-crosses him and says that he quits on him and disappears to thin air. Jorgen then comes out again and actually erases his memories this time, but Nor gets his rings and crowns removed. Nor thinks he has actually won, but Chester pops out of nowhere and wishes for everything to return back to normal.
Not yet! You lied to me, you tricked me, and you used me to hurt my best friend! Nobody makes a fool out of Chester McBadbad, except the school system, government, and every girl I've ever met!
The episode ends when Timmy grants them a 24-hour day off, and when Wanda was concerned about this, Wanda and Cosmo both explodes, but is alive in the next upcoming episode. This is pretty messed up levels such as tricking them, the cost of their lives, and even Timmy, the main protagonist, actually almost got defeated at one point. But Timmy knows that he has to fight his way to the end, saving Cosmo and Wanda's lives, and even to become a trio once again. The search for Gary. And then we come to the saddest episode, SpongeBob SquarePants. Of all the shows I've put it on this list, how is this to be a heartbroken? Oh, alright then, let us begin. In the season 4 episode title, Haven't Seen the Snail, the episode starts when SpongeBob's attempting to do the Dirty Bubble Challenge to get the world record. He gets carried away, forgetting to feed Gary, causing him to run away. Patrick then later comes and sees SpongeBob, but Patrick, realizing that Gary has been gone.
10 days? Gary! 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 Patrick!
Huh?
I can't find Gary!
After Gary has been gone, they attempt to search for Gary everywhere. They first start by attempting to search around SpongeBob's premises and Patrick's premises too, then trying at Squidward's house and he says to check his mail. Then the mail flies out, a note was found, and it was from Gary.
Dear SpongeBob, these last few years have been some of the best of my life, but I must move on. Don't bother to come looking for me. By now I have probably found a new owner who actually remembers to fill up my food bowl every now and again. Sincerely, Gary. At least until my new owner renames me. Dear Neptune, what have I done?
What do you mean? You drove him away? It's right there in black and white. See? Right there. And there.
Gary.
Then, they search all over town for him. Music plays, and flyers were put up, and SpongeBob desperately wanted him back. Then, Gary realizing that all the other snails, that Granny has been eating them. Damn it, Granny. Gary escapes from her and comes back to him. Then we get to the part where SpongeBob even accepts its fate, that it's probably for the best one that Gary finds another home to take better care of him. Gary does come back to SpongeBob, hugs him, and returns home to Gary, that SpongeBob promising himself and to Gary that he will take better care of him. This is the most heartwarming, soul-crushing episode I have seen in anyone's history. It is considered to be the most saddest episode of SpongeBob to ever air in its network. How the Nickelodeon even approved of this episode, I do not have any idea, but I can tell that this is the most cry-full episode you've ever seen in your entire life. Just a fun fact is that there is an actual deleted scene where SpongeBob actually comes up to Squidward's house, asks him to deliver a bag of snail food up to his doorstep. It's unknown why this scene was actually cut, probably due to because of time constraint, I do not know. But imagine if this scene would have been released, things could have cut out completely different. I mean, all of this would have been prevented if Squidward actually helps him